Paige Reilley lifted her head and sniffed, sure she'd caught a trace of the monster she'd come to kill. When the breeze lifted and curled her way, she took another deep drag of the humid night air, testing for the telltale scent of foul sulfur. Nothing. No sound or movement, only still-as-death buildings, trees blanched by moonlight, and the occasional piece of trash rattling across cobblestones. A discarded piece of plastic scraped by her, fleeing the relentless winds. Paige could relate, for she too was relentless. She now pursued a creature forged in an underworld abyss, one that had come to town tonight for nothing good. The demon still lurked nearby, she was certain, but whether that knowledge came from her soldier's training or witch's intuition, she couldn't say. Studying the area, she performed more recon, searching for anything she might have missed on her first couple of passes. By September, the Savannah tourist season was on its last legs, so even the popular city market was empty at 4 a.m. Bars were long closed down, horses and carriages put to bed, and the saccharine scents from the candy store had floated far away. Scanning the row of buildings on the opposite side, she searched for potential places where an enemy combatant might conceal itself. Buildings of various material and color stood side by side, their rooftops pressed together like a row of uneven teeth. The storefronts were well maintained despite their age, and Paige admired the proud facades, pretty on the outside, but strong and determined, having prevailed against years of abuse from the elements. She was well hidden, and no cars would pass her on the tabby walkway, with headlights to reveal her or her prey. The mixture of sand, limestone, and shells dated back to the city's foundation, and though wider than surrounding streets, only pedestrian traffic was allowed on this thoroughfare. At this hour, though, the boisterous tourists had been replaced by a menacing absence of sound. Only distant traffic contributed a sub-layer to the static silence, as did the gusts ruffling thick waxy leaves of street-planted magnolias. Tiny white-bulbed lights hung year-round in the trees, but cast little light, leaving Paige to rely on the waxing moon. Even that source of illumination was repeatedly lost to passing clouds, so her instincts, magic, and training would have to do. But they usually served her best. A few men were sleeping in the square at the West End. Known locally as the Rail, the park was an accepted gathering spot for the homeless, especially during milder months. The prone bodies, stretched beneath overcoats or blankets, hopefully would remain asleep through her confrontation with the demon. Other types cruised the park on occasion, engaging in swift narcotics-related transactions, and Paige owed her gratitude to at least one drug dealer who'd been hauled in earlier by a couple of cops on patrol. They'd noticed the pusher when he'd run screaming into traffic. He'd been more than happy to get off the streets, reportedly babbling to the officers about a creature coming at him from the bushes. The cops had chalked it up to drug-induced hallucinations or mental disease, but Cole, a detective as well as boyfriend to one of Paige's coven, had caught wind of the arrest and, knowing the man was likely telling the stark truth, had notified the witch who happened to be on call. Paige pressed against the rough brick at her back and counted herself lucky to be that witch. In the gloom of her hiding spot, she smiled, jacking herself up for a fight. Continuing to scope the shadowed marketplace, she conjured an AC/DC song in her head. Yeah, you. But she changed the lyrics to fit the situation. Kill you all night long. And she smiled. Over a year ago, she'd come to Savannah only to discover she was fated to defend the city from an ancient evil. It went by the name Bastral, a powerful demon who'd made his way here centuries before, only to end up banished by the predecessors of Paige's coven. The same witches who'd banished the demon had also left a prophecy behind. 9 witches, 9 trials, and before they could even make it to Bastral, an army of enemies to defeat. The Amara, as they called themselves, deserved to be put down like the monsters they were, and Paige was ready to do more than protect the flanks of her fellow witches. She was eager, excited even, to finally take point. Just as soon as her time arrived. Her trial. And it had to be coming up any day now. A subtle scraping sound drifted from her right and abruptly quieted the murderous tune still playing in her head. By her estimation, the noise had originated about 2 buildings down. And sure enough, as she homed in on the spot, a tall shape took form. The beast disturbed the shadows with its movement, a bare ripple of darkness that didn't belong, that wasn't natural.